The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim is one of my favorite games of all time, and I sunk hundreds of hours into this game as a kid, but here recently, I picked it up as an adult, and I seek to answer the question, does Skyrim hold up in 2026, or am I just blinded by nostalgia? At the time of my writing, I put about 40 hours into the new character I made, and I can safely say that Rim of the Sky holds up just fine approximately a decade and a half after its debut. So, for those who came here for a quick yes or no answer, there you go. But for those who want a more in-depth answer, stick around, I got you covered. Starting things off with something simple. For what this game is, and for the time it came out, it graphically looks stunning. With great designs everywhere. Characters, weapons, buildings, you name it. There was really a lot of work and attention to detail put into this game, and it definitely paid off. On a similar note, the 4-ish hour soundtrack is beyond great, and all of the sound effects are amazing too. Be it the sounds of a sword hitting a shield, doors opening and closing, weather sounds, and overall ambience, Skyrim did a great job in the sound department, and the voice actors are great as well. Getting into gameplay, one thing that Skyrim is known for is freedom in how you want to play it. There are quests you can do with a main storyline, side missions, and miscellaneous small quests, and you can tackle them in any way you want. If it's a mission where you need to go fight some bandits and retrieve some stolen goods, you can bum rush into their camp and go ham with a battle axe, or maybe sneak in with a dagger and quietly assassinate your enemies. Or hide in the shadows from afar and snipe foes with a bow and poison arrows. The choice is yours. Or maybe if it's a quest where you need to talk to someone, you'll be given dialogue choices to make, some of which don't make any real difference, and some will actually impact the outcome of that quest. And you can be a more upright, honest person, or a dishonest and mischievous scoundrel, be it never stealing anything and buying all of your goods legitimately, or creeping into a vendor's home at night to help yourself to their wares, although I personally suggest taking the honest route. You can also do things like spending your time picking plants and vegetables, and then cooking and brewing potions. Or you can have a family, get married, and adopt a kid. You can spend time mining ore and smithing items, or you can straight up build a house if you own the Heartfire DLC. It's really up to you. Now, of course, I do strongly suggest finishing the main story because, well, it's the main story. Why would you not beat it? But this game just offers so much to do, and it's open to so many different playstyles. It's really a prized gem of the Xbox 360 generation. Changing gears, I would like to discuss leveling up and the progress system in this game. You earn skill XP by just doing things, picking locks to level up your lockpicking skill, hitting enemies with a one-handed weapon to level up your one-handed skill, etc. And every skill level up adds XP to your overall player level, and when you level up, you can increase one of your attributes, magicka, health, and stamina. And leveling up your stamina increases your stamina and your max weight limit. Also, with every level up, you earn 1 perk point, which you can use on any skill you want, as long as that skill is high enough to unlock the perk that you want. And as you level up, better items start to spawn in-game. For example, when you're level 1, you'll mostly only find low stat items in loot containers, like iron and steel weapons, but as your level gets higher, you start to find better goodies, like dwarven, ebony, etc. And to top off the discussion of the progression system, I would like to note that sleeping grants you XP boosters, and if you sleep in any random bed, it's only a 5% boost. If it's a bed you own, you get a 10% boost. And if you're married, and if you sleep in a building where your spouse is, you earn a 15% XP boost for 8 in-game hours. While the 5% increase isn't much, you'll really notice the difference when you do and don't have the 15% booster active. That out of the way, I would like to go into discussing combat. In order to do that, I must first discuss the race selection. Skyrim offers you several races to choose from at the start of the game, all of which have their own abilities and are better suited for certain types of combat. Like, the orc is best suited for open combat, elves for magic, etc. While I have messed around with several of the options, I pretty much always stuck with the well-rounded Khajiit. They're kind of a jack of all trades, but they are pretty good for stealth, and I will explain why in a bit. Now, each race has their own special ability that they can use once a day, like Nords having Battle Cry that can scare off nearby enemies, or Argonians being able to rapidly heal for a minute. The Khajiit has Night Vision, which can be useful while trying to sneak around in dark areas, which is why I said they're good for stealth. And unlike the other races, the Khajiit's Night Vision isn't limited to only one use per day, which makes sense. I think it'd be kind of dumb to only let a cat see in the dark for 1 minute of every in-game day. Anyways, in addition to having these special power abilities, all races have their own non-active abilities, I guess you could call them. They're not things you can really activate, they kind of just exist for your character, like the Khajiit having claws, which add unarmed damage, Argonians being able to breathe underwater, or Dunmer having a natural resistance to fire damage, stuff like that. Okay, all of that behind us, time to finally dive into combat. I primarily stuck with a light armor stealth archer, but sometimes I would get up close and personal with a sword and a shield, although I had no interest in using magic. I did try it as a kid, and I don't care for it. Now, archery is pretty self-explanatory. You shoot enemies from afar, although you can run out of arrows, so always make sure to loot, buy, or make some before you go on any long trip. And thankfully, arrows have no weight, so stock up all you want. For melee combat, there are one- and two-handed weapons, and one-handed weapons can be dual-wielded. Two-handed weapons are heavier and slower than their one-handed cousins, but they do more damage. Although I was more likely to use a one-handed tool of combat than two-handed, as I prefer the mobility of the lighter weaponry. Plus, you can equip a shield when using weapons of the one-handed variety, so that's a positive, and you can do shield bashes to stun your opponent. And sure, you can also block using two-handed weapons, but I preferred a light sword and a shield over something like a massive warhammer. Now, one big twist that Skyrim has on combat is the power of the voice, which is one of the biggest parts of the story. There's something called Dragonborn, which allows you to easily use dragon shouts of power, which are kind of underwhelming if I'm being honest. Okay, to use one, you have to first find a word of power written on a wall, and then you must unlock it with a dragon soul in order to use it, and you get dragon souls by killing dragons. And after you go to all that work, most of them really aren't that helpful in my opinion. You can do something like, you can make the weather nice, that one's really useful for combat. Or you have a somewhat weak fire blast, a shout that can make you invincible for a few seconds, stuff like that. But most shouts just felt really underpowered. And sure, a couple were more useful, like Dragon Rend, which can make it so a dragon can't fly and they're forced to land, which makes fighting them easier. Or the shout called Throw Voice, which is good for stealth encounters, as it can make enemies think that you're somewhere that you aren't, but most shouts don't do more than give you a slight edge in combat, and while I only unlocked about a dozen shouts in this playthrough, I got all but one or two of them on my childhood console. Now there is one really cool DLC shout in which you can instantly summon a dragon to aid you in fighting, but I'm not looking at DLCs in this video. Anyways, to top off the underwhelmingness of the shouts of power, most of them take forever to recharge, and you can only use them once, maybe twice in a single combat encounter. I mean, I understand not making the player too OP, but it kind of feels like, I don't know, if somebody made a superhero that could lift 500 pounds and can fly 6 inches above the ground. Does that person have superpowers? Sure, but they're not that helpful, which is kind of how I feel about the shouts of Skyrim. I mean, does anyone agree with me here? Let me know in the comments. Anywho, I think the last thing that really needs to be mentioned on the topic of combat is health and stamina. Obviously, you lose HP when you take damage, and you can use food items, some ingredients like wheat and potions to restore your lost HP, or you can just wait and heal over time. Now for stamina, Skyrim is a bit different than some RPGs, like in Dead Island, where basic attacks drain your energy, or in Fallout 1, where walking required action points, or something like that. Skyrim isn't like that. You can use your weaponry for basic attacks without using any stamina, and you can also walk without having to worry about that. But you will use stamina for charged heavy attacks, shield bashes, running, and fully charged shots from your bows. And like HP, you can refill your stamina bar by eating some foods and ingredients, drinking potions, or just waiting. Now your stamina regenerates a lot faster than your HP, so unless I was in a heated battle and just really needed some more stamina, I would usually let it recharge by itself. And I reckon that is the last bits of combat wrapped up. I could also add that you can get a follower who will aid you in fighting, and they can do other things too, like carry things for you, or do tasks like chopping wood. Now you can only have one permanent follower at once, but you will sometimes get extra followers for quests who will leave you once that mission is done. I personally like Serena from the Dawnguard DLC, cause she's hot, but Lydia and Karjo the Khajiit are a couple followers to consider if you don't have the DLCs. As far as the story of this game goes, I was honestly never too big into the story of Skyrim. You're a guy who learns that he's something called the Dragonborn, he has special powers, like I said earlier, and he kills the evil dragon Alduin who wants to destroy the world. A fine story, sure, but let's be real, how many of us play Skyrim for the story? Now that being said, one thing that is very impressive is the hundreds, if not thousands of books and letters scattered around this game. I think now a lot of companies, especially Microsoft's Bethesda, would just fart out these kind of things with AI, but Skyrim has tons of unique books and letters for you to read, and the fact that somebody went to the work to write them all is just super impressive. And also, if you read a book with a value of over 50 for the first time, it increases a skill. So that was a nice touch. Changing gears, I would like to brush on the massive open world in this title. Skyrim is home to hundreds of locations, and while some are kind of copy and paste, like just being smaller caves or a single building, they all have something unique about them, and you can really just feel the love and passion that went into building this game. Now that being said, probably in part because of this open world, the loading times can be kind of lengthy, and Skyrim has a weird quirk where the longer you play it, the longer the loading screens are. I initially did wonder if this was just me and if I was tripping, but I saw a couple videos where other people discussed it, so this just appears to be part of the Skyrim on Xbox 360 and PS3 experience. Apart from long loading times, Skyrim does have its fair share of glitches, but most of them were usually just funny, like characters teleporting or a dragon falling through the ground, and I remember the Scatsbury used to make hilarious videos based off the glitches of Skyrim. So it's not perfect performance-wise, but little bugs and issues are just part of what makes Skyrim Skyrim, and I never ran into any real issues that really put me off. And I think that's about all I have to say for this amazing game right now, and I give it a 9.9 out of 10 by my grade scale. Now I do want to add some backstory to this video. I have toyed around with the idea of trying to review Skyrim for a couple of years, but I honestly just don't feel like I can do it justice. Even this video, I don't think it does Skyrim justice. It's just such a great game, and I spent hundreds of hours playing it as a kid, and I've played it on 3 devices: Xbox 360, Xbox One, and PC. Although the 360 version is my favorite solely for nostalgia, because that's what I had as a kid. And I would really like to know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this video did a good job covering The Elder Scrolls V, or should I try to revisit this game someday in a longer vid? Tell me down below. As far as similar games I could recommend, I'd go with Fallout New Vegas, my favorite game of all time, and maybe The Lord of the Rings War in the North, which I have reviewed. Link to that vid in the end card. And for any newcomers here, I mostly review and discuss Xbox 360 games, so feel free to check out some of my other vids if that sounds interesting. As for our Bible verse of the day, I read Proverbs 9:10 in IV. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. And going off script here, I really do appreciate it if you stuck to the end of this video. It's been quite a bit of work, and I really do appreciate it if you put up with my narrations. I know that I'm not good at reading a script. I'm not really good at talking, and I made a lot of mistakes recording this that I'm gonna have to go back and edit, and I'm closing in on 25 minutes, and I highly doubt the end video is going to be nearly that long. So yeah, I definitely have a lot of mistakes to edit out. So basically, if you made it to the end of this video, a huge thank you. I really do appreciate it. It truly means a lot. And like always, none of my content is ever made by AI, and I don't consent to my voice and likeness being modified, altered, and copied by AI in any way. Jesus loves you all. Take it easy. Thanks again for watching. Peace. You can also do things like spending your time picking plants and vegetables, and then cook. Or you can straight up build a house if you have the